So we want to leave you with a point of focus. Really ties into this whole conversation. Ties in with this new leading edge question that you've just asked. Alignment and timing are synonymous. So alignment equals impulse equals timing equals happy. It's timing, and your inner being is the master of timing, because there's so many things you could do and it's just endless. But when you get an impulse, and the more often you do it, the more you'll feel like doing that, until you can go through a day where everywhere you go. The day was like that for Esther yesterday. She traveled by herself, and as she traveled, everywhere she went, it was like a door opened. There was someone there to greet her and to smile and to help her everywhere she went along the way. It was her timing. She drove her own car to the park and ride, and the bus was right there, and a man took her bags out, and there was a place for her to park right there, so she got right on the bus. And then they drove her and one other person to the airport rather than waiting for the bus to fill up. And Esther thought, oh, I really like how things are working out. And then the bus let her off right in front of the sky cap, and she gave him her bags, and off they went. And she got right to the gate in the most comfortable fashion. Everything about it was just unfolding perfectly. And then she had this wonderful flight, 2 wonderful flights. And when she got to the baggage claim, her driver was not there. He was not there with his sign, and he wasn't answering the number that she'd been given. And when she did reach him, this was the first sign of something that looked like it was out of sync. The driver said, I'm supposed to be there at 2:30, right? And Esther said, well, my note says 2 o'clock, and I am here. And how long will it take you to get here? Well, let me call you back. And he called back, and now he's kind of making up some reasons that he can't be there. And Esther said, it's all right, I'll just take a cab. So she went out to the curb, and there was a cab right there, and she stood there for a moment, and the woman who was assigning the cabs to people was distracted by something else that was going on. And for just a moment, Esther thought, you really should pay attention to me, because your job is me. But she was doing something else. And so a cab driver who was sitting right there saw Esther sitting there, and he came and undid the rope and escorted Esther to his cab. And he got in trouble for that, because that's not his job. But as Esther got into the cab, she said to him, well, that was very nice, thank you very much. And then they began talking about the most wonderful things. And then Esther said to him, you are a very strong man with powerful good intentions, and life is going very well for you. I can feel it. And he said, is that why I feel you all over my arms? They were such energy friends right away. There could not have been a better thing that had happened to either one of them. They were guided to be together for a 40-minute drive that was delightful for both of them. And what looked like was supposed to happen that didn't happen wasn't the best thing to happen. And after a little while of just relaxing and taking it as it comes, and trusting that the universe is always doing what's best for you, and let that be your default decision about things, that things are working out for me. No matter how it looks, things are always working out for me, no matter how it looks. And to the degree that I allow it here and now, to the degree that I am willing to look for things that are satisfying here and now, then there's no end until you feel like you've been on a magic carpet ride. Like, could this day have been any better? Could I have had better timing? Could I have had more pleasure? Could I have had more satisfaction? Could I have had better timing? And the answer to that is yes, probably, but this was really, 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 really good. In other words, the more you acknowledge the good timing, the better the timing continues to be. Creation is so much fun when you realize that you are doing the creating. And allowing is so much fun when you realize that you hold the keys to the allowing. The deliberate creation of your life experience is what you came for. You didn't come because stuff needs to get done. You came because you like the experience of energy flowing through you. You like the feeling of alignment. You like the feeling of life flowing through you. You don't like the feeling of pinching it off, and you don't like the feeling of not letting it in, and you don't like the feeling of the imbalance of it, but you like the feeling of learning it, and you like the feeling of getting better and better at it. And once you get hold of this, just regarding a thing or two or a thing or two or a thing or two, it shows up more and more and more and more in your experience. And you might find yourself enjoying your singularity a bit. You might enjoy feeling the timing that you are able to receive. And then once you get that really going good, then you might hook up with somebody else that knows that too. And when two or more of you come together with that sort of knowing, with that sort of energy flowing, with that sort of exponential expansion, when you start hooking up with the energies that create worlds in a conscious, deliberate way, we're not going to say you're going to accomplish a lot, because that's not the point. We're going to say you're going to have a really, really good time.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My question is, when we croak and then we come back, do we have to start all over again? As far as our awareness of law of attraction and inner being? Because I don't want to do that.
You're asking a question from two different vantage points. Everything that you're living is causing this expansion of who you really are. And who you really are is going to, again, project yourself into this physical experience. And for the benefit of continuity, there will be that readjusting. But the thing that we want you to remember, you see, the answer to that question is yes, you have to start over. But wait, hear us out on this. Yes, you have to start over, which is a problem to humans who don't get into the receiving mode, because then they don't have the benefit of all that they really know. But as soon as you get into the receiving mode, you have the benefit of all that you know. And when you're born, you are in the receiving mode. It takes a long time for other humans to talk you out of the receiving mode. You see what we're getting at? All the animals of your planet are in the receiving mode. Humans call them instinctive or instinctual because of the way they instinctively know what to do. Well, you do too. But humans get used to listening to other humans instead of listening to the guidance that comes forth from within. So the separation or the discomfort that comes from, in essence, starting over has to do with how long it takes you to figure out that you care about feeling good. And that gets easier and easier and easier as more on the planet know it and talk about it and teach it, so that it's possible that you could come back in your next experience and meet up with somebody who has been to one of these seminars, and they could remind you of it early on in your experience, and you wouldn't have to go through 30 or 40 or 50 years of disconnection, you see.
That's what I'm hoping for.
It's really fun for us to see some of you come back and find in a library somewhere a book you wrote before.
Well, I find that it's interesting because I've kind of been on a spiritual journey, and I was so interested in everything, and going to psychics and learning from gurus, and everything was helpful, but I felt like I was zipping through it, getting what I needed, and then going, I don't need that anymore, and moving on. And then I just really discovered this in May or June, and it was like, oh, this is it. But I realized as I've been going through it, I wasn't ready to be ready. It wouldn't have worked for me before. And now, as I listen every day, it's a complete addiction. I come up with, when I knew I was coming, and I just knew I was going to get picked, and I had all these questions. I'm like, oh, check that one off, check that one off. Every day there's something new that gets answered for me. And sometimes I feel, because of my age, and I'm looking at retiring and all that, I don't have big job issues or things like that. And I just think, well, something major should be out there. I'm like, no, it's okay. They're just little, like you said, every little day-to-day things that happen that all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, wow.
What a wonderful project it is that you have when you discover that life has got a vortex full of things that could keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes. And then you tap into your resources where you're in the receiving mode, where you get to witness those things coming about. You're not going to find yourself wishing for more responsibility.
Right. Yeah. It's like reading a good book, and you can't wait to get to the end, but you don't want to get to the end. It's just so beautiful to see.
That's one of the things that we like so much. Esther wondered for quite a while. Esther can feel the clarity of what we teach, and she knows about tuning in, and she would hear us talking about how the universe will continue to surprise and delight you. And she thought, well, how can the universe surprise and delight me if I'm a deliberate creator? If I'm asking for what I want, if life is helping me know what I want, then how could I be surprised and delighted? And we say, because of the unique way that things come about, and because of the combination of beings, and because of the way the path unfolds, and because of the cleverness and expertise and brilliance of the source within you, who in one moment in time can deliver 10 or 20 things that you care about simultaneously. Humans think so much more linearly and selectively, where the source within you is a multidimensional being that is dealing with many things simultaneously. And when you tap into that and you start following those impulses, your ability to be surprised and delighted just gets greater and greater. And each time you are, then your expectation of it becomes keener still, which makes you even more receptive to it and more receptive to it, until people who are watching you just can hardly believe that these kind of things can happen to you. Then you find yourself, instead of craving groups of people in order to stave off your loneliness, you enjoy your independence, where you are in the moment free to follow the impulse. Because when you're moving through life on your own and you receive an impulse and you follow it, rather than having to get the 10 or 20 or 30 people that are moving through life with you to come with you, it is quite exhilarating to see what excellent timing you might have, and the number of things in even 1 hour, let alone 1 day, let alone 1 week, let alone 1 month, let alone 1 year, that can converge just to satisfy you.
Right, and that's what it's like, and it's so amazing. And I have something that's unfolding now for the end of the week. And my family is like, oh, Mom, and they keep showing me these alerts and this and that. And I'm like, just picture yourself sitting by the pool with a drink. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to have a great time. Have you seen this? Have you looked? Everyone's showing me all this stuff. And I'm like, it's going to be fine. Just be happy. Feel good about it. And they're like, but, and it's just, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. And it's just.
Well, it's a good feeling to know that you're free floating enough that the universe will orchestrate what you want for you. And if you are free floating enough in terms of receiving and responding to what you're receiving, then you'll always be at the right place at the right time about everything. It might not be the place you planned, but it will be as good or gooder than that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough?
Yes. Thank you so much. I love you.
Really good.